short trip over to Bullhead City, but we got a few minutes here. Thought we'd film another senior moment. So,
yeah, a senior moment will be, it's nothing exciting, but it's a pretty vivid memory from my past. And I mentioned a time or two that my brother and I used to get involved in stuff. And after that episode with the rotten turkey eggs, I always was kind of careful that whatever I did, I'd be sure I didn't get caught. And this is one of those times that...
so this incident takes place after the turkey egg thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how old were you then when this incident takes place?
I was probably, let's see, I was going to Bush School. I was in the 5th grade, so I'm probably 10, maybe 12.
Okay.
It was during the episode when I used to get pumpkins off of the trains, because we lived close to a switching station where they would bring train car loads of stuff in. But they would also, it was a through track all the way through Salem, and the highballing trains would go through there at a pretty good speed. Well, I won't get all involved in all of the stuff that led up to this, but my brother and I and a couple of kids in the neighborhood, we used to play in this lumber yard that was next to the railroad. And there was always a crew of workers out working on the railroad. And if my memory serves, they called them dandy dancers. I don't know why, but the guys that worked on the railroad, repairing, if there was a rail getting bad or something, they would repair the rails or put new ties in under the rails. They called them dandy dancers. And they always had a shack, a small building that they would bring in. My truck could sit there, and these dandy dancers had their equipment in there, had tools and equipment stuff that they worked with. Well, of course, they didn't work on weekends. So, someone in our gang, I don't know who it was, decided that they were going to see what was in that shack. So, we somehow magically opened up that shack.
They must have left it unlocked.
They must have left it unlocked, right? I don't remember all the details. But we got into that shack, and there was a box in there of what they called torpedoes, which was about a 4-inch square explosive device that had thin pieces of metal coming out from it. And what they would do when they had to signal a train, they would take one of these or two of these and put it on the track, bend these pieces of metal down around the rail, so that when the train ran across it, it would explode. It would make a pretty loud noise. I don't know if they still do that anymore. They've got communication phones now. But at any rate,
so that would be a signal to the engineer.
It's a signal to the engineer that something was going on somewhere. But we never did know what the signals were. Whether it was one bang or two bangs or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So we found those and we thought that was pretty exciting. There was a train come through about every 3 or 4 hours. There'd be a highballing train came through Salem. Not anything that's going to stop. but just pulling freight cars.
So a highballing train is one that is passing
It just
through.
keeps going. It's not stopping there. It's pulling freight cars.
Gotcha.
And so we decided that we were going to try these things out. So we took one of them and put them out on the rail. And a train within a half hour or so, we was playing in this lumber yard. Within a half hour or so, we heard a train coming. And this train come highballing down probably 50 miles an hour, whatever the maximum speed that they could go through a residential area in a town. And they came through, we had one of these torpedoes set on the track. And sure enough, the engine's wheels hit that, and bang, it went off, made a loud noise. We thought that was really neat. We thought we'd really done something. And somebody had the idea, well, if one of them makes a bang, then more of them would make a bigger bang. There was about 20 of them in this box. So we thought, well, that'd be nice. So we went out and took 20 of those 20 torpedoes, put them right next to each other, about 2 or 3 inches apart, and bent them on that track. Then we decided to go wait for another train. Usually within an hour or so, another train had come by. So we were playing out in the lumber yard, climbing on lumber stacks, and just having a good time like 10, 12, 15-year-olds do. We heard a train coming. So we all got down off of the lumber, was going to listen to this loud bang. And this train come eyeballing through at about 40, 50 miles an hour. And he hit those torpedoes. And we could not believe the whole side of that engine lifted up. It looked like about a foot. It probably was only 3 or 4 inches. But there was enough power in those torpedoes that the whole side of that engine lifted up about at least 6 inches to a foot.
Oh my gosh.
And fire, explosives, and a noise like you wouldn't believe, a loud explosion. We knew that we had gone a little too far with our experimenting in playing candy dancer and exploding those torpedoes. I think there was 4 of us. Monty Gust and his brother, my brother and I. And we took a secret oath that under penalty of death, none of us would ever tell who did it.
You guys must have scattered like...
And, well, we did scatter. Monty and his brother went home, and Jim and I went home. And it took about, within 20 minutes, there were multiple cop cars out there on the street where we lived next to the railroad tracks. And every cop car had about 5 or 6 cops in it. And they spread out through that lumber yard and up and down the tracks, trying to figure out who had tried to sabotage that train. And they went door to door, knocking on doors, trying to find out if anybody knew anything about what happened and what that explosion was on the train. They came to our house and questioned my mom. My brother and I never said a word. She asked us, said, "You guys know anything about this?" I said, "No, Mom, we weren't even in the lumberyard today." And I'm sure that Monty Guts and his brother probably did the same thing. But that was an experience that led up to another lesson that I learned, that if you don't know for reasonably certain what you're doing, don't get involved in explosives and crap like that. We didn't know it. We could have tipped that whole train over. We didn't. It didn't cause any damage, but it caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people. But Monty and his brother, and me and my brother, for at least 10, 15 years, I was in my 20s when Monty Hall and I finally mentioned that again. But up until then, we never mentioned it. My brother and I never mentioned it. Monty and his brother never mentioned it. And it was over 10 years before I ever heard about it again. So that was one of those things that I didn't get caught. Most of what I did, I didn't get caught because I planned it where I wouldn't get caught. And that's what that rotten egg episode taught me. Whatever you do, plan it so you don't get caught. But that's a senior memory. It's a memory out of my past. It's really vivid to me. And I thought it might be interesting to other people because I don't think you can do that anymore. They don't have the torpedoes. They don't have the Gandy dancers and the Gandy dancer shacks like they used to.
And even if they did, they probably don't leave the door unlocked.
Yeah, right. And nowadays, the workers on the railroad travel in these cars and they live in these train cars. So that's the things that happened in those days. And this is like, it's like almost 80 years ago, over 75 years ago. Things are different now. They do things differently. But that's a vivid memory out of our past for a senior moment. So that'll do it for this time.
See you next time, guys.